I was reminiscing about the Kyle Rittenhouse case and came across a couple of older articles that I find hilarious in retrospect. This video will cover one of them, and I'll save the second one for a future video. But at any rate, we're going to read this one and have a lot of fun. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnny Walker Dread Show.
All right. Massachusetts school offers safe space for students of color after Rittenhouse Arbery verdicts. Okay, one safe space was geared specifically to students of color. Let's read on, and this is by Adam Sabes. I have no idea. A middle school in Massachusetts offered safe spaces to students after the verdicts in the Kyle Rittenhouse and Ahmaud Arbery cases. Bigelow Middle School in Newton, Massachusetts sent out a midweek update December 1st to families of students at the school that directs them to review a letter detailing safe space choices for students. Now keep in mind, the verdict was rendered on November 19th. This was sent on December 1st. 2 weeks later, I guess the students are still struggling. Oh man, this is so pathetic. The letter details 3 separate safe spaces that opened December 2nd in response to verdicts in the Kyle Rittenhouse and Ahmaud Arbery cases, with one for students of color. It also encouraged parents to discuss safe space choices with their children. Like that's going to be a really difficult decision to make. Oh, Lordy. I mean, like, how does that go? Son, let's talk about safe spaces at school. Safe spaces are spaces that are safe. Oh boy, this is for middle school, right? I'm sure that students at a middle school will be traumatized by the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict. Oh my God. Students had an option to attend their advisory class period as usual or choose from one of the 3 safe spaces after watching a video from the school's principal, Chastity Costin, addressing both cases. Oh, I'm going to have to see if I can get a hold of that one. And by the way, this advisory class period, back in the day when I was a kid, we had math and English and history. We didn't have an advisory class period. And of course, the school will say, well, we use that period to discuss career options. Yeah, that might happen for like maybe the first week. And then after that is just blow off city. The kids don't do anything. Reactions to verdicts, hearing and learning from peers. Rumor control room. Facts presented in cases, today's law, and final verdicts, and questions and discussion for students of color were all listed as safe spaces for students. And I find it funny about the rumor control room. Facts presented in cases, today's law, and final verdicts. I bet you that when they had that safe space meeting, they only talked about the facts and the law as written in Wisconsin statute. I am sure they got everything correct, right? What are the chances that they got anything right? You know very well that they told all the students about how Kyle Rittenhouse carried a gun across state lines and he was out there looking for trouble. You know very well that that's what these students were told in the rumor control room. Come together with other Bigelow students of color to process and get answers to any questions you have regarding these 2 cases. One of the safe space descriptions states, and I bet you that these safe spaces were led by people who really know everything there is to know about those 2 cases. I bet you that they were well informed of the facts and laws surrounding them. The letter says that the Rittenhouse and Arbery cases are both sensitive topics with many layers of political, racial, and social concerns. Regardless of those concerns, the Kyle Rittenhouse conclusion will likely be seen as yet another unfair reality for many Bigelow families, staff, and students, particularly our community members of color, while the Ahmaud Arbery conclusion may be seen as a glimpse of hope and justice. Okay, now I'm not going to talk about the Ahmaud Arbery conclusion. However, let's take a look at this one thing about the Kyle Rittenhouse case. It says here that it will likely be seen as yet another unfair reality for many Bigelow family staff and students. Yeah, I really bet that those students were given the facts. Unbiased. They only went through the facts and the laws as stated in Wisconsin statutes. Yeah. The school's principal stated in the letter that the school has a responsibility to address the impact of both situations with students. No, it does not. There is nothing that says that the school has such a responsibility. Bigelow has a responsibility to address the impact of both situations and to make sure that you as students are educated on real-world topics to prepare you for life after Bigelow. This is called indoctrination. When it comes to preparing them for life after Bigelow, what they mean is that they want these students indoctrinated with leftist understandings of what happened so that they can become bitter adults, thoroughly concerned that the white man, has them under their thumb and that they cannot succeed no matter how hard they try because of this racist society, which is bound to encourage these students to go on and work hard in school, right? Rittenhouse was found not guilty on all charges against him as jurors finished deliberations on November 19. He faced charges after fatally shooting 2 people and shooting and injuring a 3rd man during the riots in Wisconsin. Erica Sanzi, the director of outreach for Parents Defending Education, told Fox News that the safe spaces shouldn't be acceptable. Right. Putting a shiny gloss on racial segregation by calling it a safe space or affinity group doesn't make it an acceptable practice anywhere, but especially not in public school. A spokesperson for the Newton Public Schools told Fox News that the letter was sent to families of students at the school and defended the usage of the safe spaces. When these types of national events occur, we provide our staff with the support they need to navigate these challenging conversations. Does that include telling your staff what actually happened, providing them the facts, the true facts surrounding the case, and the actual law that governs whether the accused is guilty or innocent? Does the support include that? As well as the space they may need to process the events themselves. We fully support our school's effort to create space and support for all of our students and staff members, and are grateful that we have school leaders who are committed to engaging in this important work. Keep in mind, again, this is 2 weeks after the verdicts were rendered at a middle school. And they are really thinking that these middle school students are so traumatized by the verdicts that they just cannot go on. They need this safe space to come to grips with what happened. I would bet you 10 to 1 that very few of these students would even know who Kyle Rittenhouse is. We know that students experience events differently, and it is our responsibility to not overlook the impact and harm on all community members, including those who are traditionally marginalized, such as people of color. This spokesperson says that these students all experience events differently. But what if a student came along and said, you know what, I fully support the jury's verdicts. I am actually quite happy that Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted because I think he was innocent. Do you think that they would support that? Do you think that they would support that view? In this particular case, we acknowledge the need for students to learn more about the context of the case and to provide space for them to process and discuss it. So in summary, a middle school 2 weeks after the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict has to set up a safe space for students where they are segregated by race so that they can process what happened. Amazing. And think about this. There are probably 1,000 middle schools in that state who did not do this. How are those students any worse off than the ones at this Newton Middle School? Like my video, subscribe to my channel.